Okay. Well, welcome everyone to our first data reporting training session for the K16 Central Coast Regional Collaborative. This data reporting training session is just for our K12 partners, districts, and other offices of education in the collaborative. So it's a great turnout. As John said, this looks like we hit the sweet spot at a good time to do a training like this. So I'm glad you're all here. Um, I am the lead for our data team at Cabrillo College, and I will be in a moment introducing you to our other team members. And with that, let's go to, we're recording, John, at this point?
We are recording.
Okay, great. Let's go to our next slide, Priscilla. So I'll just run through today's agenda. We're going to introduce you to our data team. I'm going to talk a little bit about the meeting goals for today. John Leopold will cover the purpose and importance of data reporting for this project. Then we'll spend the bulk of our time, about 25 minutes, with Priscilla Fernandez, who's really taken the lead on creating a very elegant, I think, data reporting survey form for you to fill out. She'll walk you through that and orient you to how to orient you on how to use it. Then we'll save a good 15 minutes for Q&A because we'll be throwing a lot of information at you and we want to give you time to process that and ask questions about it. Then I'll quickly run through the 3 office hours we've got scheduled in case you need additional support, tell you about those. We'll remind you or let you know, if you don't know already, the deadline for completing the data reporting form. And then we'll just do a quick wrap up and next steps. So that's our agenda. And next slide, Priscilla. Um, so I've already introduced myself, John Creese. My other hat I wear is I'm the regional director for the Bay Region Center of Excellence for Labor Market Research, which is also hosted at Cabrillo. But as I said, I'm taking the lead coordinating the data team that is working very closely with John Leopold's team to do the data reporting outcomes and evaluation for this project. Priscilla, could you introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I am Priscilla Fernandez. I am a research consultant, and I also work really closely with John and the Centers of Excellence on this project, and I work on this project as well. So I'm excited to walk you through the data reporting template today.
Great. And Layla, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Leila Jamusian. I'm a research analyst and statistician at Cabrillo College Research Office, um, and I'm glad to be here.
Great, thank you. I switched the order there because I wanted to make sure you were on the call, Layla, so I didn't see you in the
Yeah, I'm actually like on the deadline, but at the same time, maybe just like I might leave like sooner. Sorry.
Okay, now I'm glad we have you here for the beginning. Great. Okay, next slide, Priscilla. So I'm just going to take a few minutes to walk you through what we want to try to accomplish today in this training session. And some, one is obviously we just did meet the team. You have on that slide our emails. We want to encourage you to reach out to us and contact us if you have any questions during this process of reporting your data in the next week or so. Um, the the meat of this training today is orientation to the data reporting survey form, which Priscilla will take you through, learning how to use that. And then we want to make sure you're aware of 3 office hour sessions we've set up, which are in addition to the training sessions that we're doing. And that will be just drop in and it'll give you a chance to kind of get any additional support that you need. And anyone from any educational segment, K12, community college, or 4-year is welcome to those sessions. They can come to part or all of the sessions. So all 3 are available to you. And then we want to make sure we're answering any questions you have, at least today, after you're seeing the data reporting survey for the first time and how to fill it out. We want to leave time for questions and making sure that you're feeling comfortable with it. So that's what we want to try and accomplish today in the meeting. Next slide. John?
Thank you, John. And first of all, I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of their busy schedule to be here. The data reporting part of the collaborative's work is incredibly important. We need to know that the investments we've made over the last year are making a difference in one way or another. We realize that we've chosen some bold strategies, and we have to be prepared for some things not to go as well as we'd like. But when you're trying to break systemic inequities, it's important to be able to look at the data and see if the interventions are making a big difference. So by helping us do that, you help us evaluate the effectiveness of the work that we've funded. It also will help us figure out over time what it is we could be doing in supporting any of the institutions, or for the partners to be taking a look at what's going on to figure out if there's any improvements they could be making on the implementation of the grant-funded pathways that we've supported. Lastly, the state of California is our funder. They expect to start seeing some data from us, and the data will help them evaluate our collaborative as compared to the other 12 collaboratives in the state of California. And so it becomes important for us to be able to measure our work against the others. But most importantly, it's about trying to figure out what we're doing that is successful with students in the Central Coast to help them participate, persist, and complete these pathway programs that we funded. Thanks for being here and being part of this.
Great. Thank you, John. Next slide, Priscilla. So Priscilla's going to take it from here. Before she starts, I want to just tell you, I'll put it in the chat right now as a reminder. As Priscilla goes through the data reporting form, please ask any questions you have in the chat, and we'll answer them in the Q&A part of the agenda. So I meant to write in the chat. So we won't take them live as we go. We'll ask you to put your question, type your question in the chat as it occurs to you that you want to ask one. We'll go back through all of those in the Q&A and answer them all. So Priscilla, take it away.
Hey. And excuse my voice, just getting a little bit over a cold here. But yes, like John said, it is really important for us to be able to gather this data. And our goal here was to try to streamline it and make it as easy as possible for all of you. That is really our goal. So like John said, please, if you have any questions, we'll try our best to answer them and support you. So what I'm going to do here is just walk you through the different sections of the data reporting survey that you'll be completing. You're going to receive a link after this training session for the actual survey. And just a couple of things to point out. The survey, it does save every time you move on to the next page, but just to be on the safe side, we're really recommending that you do sit down when you fill it out, that you have all of your data ready to go. And I'll talk a little bit about how to do that and how to prepare as I go through. So here on this first page, this is just what the introduction looks like. You'll be asked just general questions about your institution, your contact information, what pathway you were funded for. And yes, the contact information for the person who fills out the form and who we can reach out to if we have any questions about your submission. So just wanted to note that. We also have when the survey is
Priscilla, are
due.
your slides advancing to? I'm not seeing what you're talking about right now.
Oh, no, this is just the introduction.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. So yeah, this is just the first page. Okay, so there are different sections to the survey. Some things to point out is that you can complete these sections kind of in different order. We do recommend that you just start them in order, but you can click back and forth between sections. So it is kind of helpful if you want to go and see, for example, what you selected as your Pathline aligned courses, for example. like I said here too, each section is going to have definitions and recommended sources. So we will talk a little bit about that. So this is the first page that you're going to see. So the first thing that we'll talk about is this section of pathway aligned courses selection. So what I want to point out here is you can select each of these sections from the main page, but you can just also click next page to move on. And in order to toggle or go back to different sections of the survey, you can also go on this upper left-hand side. It's not as like clear, so I really wanted to point it out. But this is how you can click between sections as well and just see where you're at. So in terms of pathway aligned courses, so this is, well, depending on what pathway you chose, that's what's going to show up here. So when you're thinking of pathway aligned courses, this should really only focus on the codes that were part of the pathway that were funded by the collaborative in cycle 1. So here you're going to select all of the courses that you consider to be part of the pathway for your institution, and you can select all that apply. Now, one thing I want to point out is this list was compiled from course codes that were selected by the collaborative. So it's not fully comprehensive. So there may be a code that you are like, oh, this was part of my pathway. So there is a space here for you to add the code and the title of that code as well. So I just wanted to make sure to point that out. And then you would just click next. So the next section is really looking at course enrollment and pass rates for those courses that you selected in that first section. Now here, you're going to only focus on the courses you specified in the first section. And also, you're going to report an aggregate number across these courses. So you're not going to give us information about each one. We just want to know an aggregate number. And that's why it's also important for you to tell us exactly what courses you chose, because next time that you do this reporting, you can also identify which ones you selected the first time around, so that it is a direct comparison. Another thing to note is that the years that you're going to be reporting on, so we do ask a lot of data, and you're only going to be focusing on years 2023 to 2024 or earlier, unless it's asking you for a projection. And that's what I'll show you here in a second. And you may be asking, wait, so why are they asking us about 2023, 2024? You know, we hadn't implemented the project yet. So that is totally correct. These numbers are really meant to serve as a baseline year. So we want to know prior to the implementation of your project and of your efforts, where was the starting point so that we can measure progress. And then also the sources I want to point out, we do provide sources. However, it's important to note, one thing to keep in mind is that a lot of this data, it may be locally sourced at your institution. And so just keeping that in mind. So this is written there. So these are essentially like the different sections that are in the survey. And so here we write, for example, there may be times when 2023, 2024 data is not available for a specific metric. Then we would just ask that you tell us what year you used. And all of this is explained in here, but I think it's really helpful for us to just also articulate. Also, if you use a different source, so for example, if you used your local data, then you could just tell us in the source section which data source you used. So yes, this is looking at pathway course enrollment. So this is still in that section. So here, this is what this looks like. So you're reporting the first baseline year, the number of students aggregately across all those courses, how many were enrolled. And then there's something here that's projected 2024 and 2020 to 2025 and 2025 to 2026. So this is just based on your best estimate. This is in thinking, okay, we're implementing our project, we are using our funds to increase enrollments. And so just thinking about that, this is where you would include your projections. We also have these metrics broken out by important demographics. So for example, race and ethnicity. We also show which years. So like I said, all of the data that we are asking for is 2023 to 2024 or earlier. Another thing I want to point out here is that we're asking for socioeconomic status as one of the metrics. Now, we know that maybe some of the data is, or some of these metrics are defined differently. So here we provide a definition, but if you use a definition, we just ask that you please elaborate at in the last section. So this last box here is really intended for you to elaborate on any of the metrics that you reported in this specific section. So for example, data was unavailable for economically disadvantaged for that definition that we provide here. However, it was for parent income or something like that, and you can include that in the notes. So we do provide that for each of the metrics that we ask you to report on. In terms of the next section, so that is also asking for pass rate C or better. So we're just, yeah, that's basically the definition. So how many students pass the course. This next section, we ask about high school graduation in A through G. So as you'll see this definition here across a lot of these different metrics. So pathway students, those are the ones we're thinking of as the ones that are enrolled in those courses that you selected in the first section. In terms of A through G completion, so this is also known as graduates meeting UC or CSU requirements in some of the data sources. So wanted to include that there. And one thing to note is here we're asking to focus on pathway students. So for example, how many of them graduated high school, how many completed A through G, but that may be a little bit more granular than the data that is available to you. So if you can only report on all students for this section, we just ask that you elaborate in the notes and say that data for pathway students was unavailable. These are numbers for all students. The next section is FAFSA or DREAMACS. So the number of applications, so the number of students that completed applications. We provide a source there and also the application cycle. And I mentioned this previously, just if there's a different definition to elaborate. CaliforniaColleges.edu. So we provide the definition there as well. And here, the total number of students that registered for accounts. The next section is work-based learning. So we provide a definition here and also the different types of work-based learning opportunities that you could have offered. We also allow an other box if there was any other types of work-based learning opportunities. Now, if, for example, you didn't write this into your project, there's a box here that you can check. None of the above, this section does not apply. And then you would just skip this section. But if it does apply to you, we ask for, the number of opportunities that were available, providing a description of those opportunities, the number of students that participated, and then also looking at if we could provide that data by demographics. Okay, and then the last section here is just open-ended responses. So here we really want to just learn how things have been going, what have been some major accomplishments for your project thus far, major outcomes that you want to make sure to highlight to our team. One thing I do want to note is that there is no word limit for your responses in this section. We encourage you to provide as much detail as you can. You could see here that there's a way for you to extend this box and make it bigger, but just know that there's no character limit. Also, we want to know what challenges you've been experiencing. Are there any lessons learned and or concerns that you've encountered as you've been implementing your grant? We definitely want to know those as well. Okay, and some tips for completing the data reporting template. So definitely planning ahead, like I mentioned, being able to gather your data prior to starting your survey. And one way that you can do that is I've created a PDF version of all of the questions that you will be asked, as well as a Google Doc version, which I'll have a link on the next page. But you can make a copy of that document and you can write in your notes, you can tag people, and all of that to hopefully get everything complete. Like I mentioned before, we provide recommended sources for some of these variables, but much of that data may be stored locally, so just keeping that in mind. And then also just reaching out if you need support with definitions, understanding how to fill things out. Like John mentioned, we will have office hours because we're here to support all of you and try to get this data filled out. Now, in terms of the deadline, I know it seems like it's looming. It's Thursday, January 3rd, 23rd at 5 p.m. So that is when we would expect the survey to be completed. Let me see if I can, oops. I will type this in the chat here. There you go. So that is ready to go. And then in terms of office hours, I will give it back to you, John. You're on mute.
Thanks. Before we go to the Q&A, we're going to just highlight the 3 times we've already set up for open office hours on Tuesday, January 14th from 3 to 4, Wednesday, the 15th from 10 to 11 a.m., and then again, Tuesday, January 21st from 3 to 4. So members of our team will be, literally it's office hours. We'll be there on Zoom for the whole hour. You can drop in and come with questions that you need help with anytime during that hour. You can come for the whole hour or any part of that hour. You're going to get a link. You're going to get a calendar invite with a Zoom link sent to you with these 3 office hour dates after today's training. But the link is also right here, and I will put that in the chat in a second. So again, I really want to encourage you to use that. We're here to support you. Okay. Thanks, Layla. Okay. Hey, Layla, if you're still here, can you grab the link from the slides and put it in there while I start facilitating Q&A?
I'm sure I would try to.
The Zoom link for the office hours.
Okay.
Okay. So with that, let's open it up to Q&A. Any questions? I think, Michael, you've got your hand up. Why don't we start there? Hard to hear you. Hard to hear you, Michael.
Information.
Yeah. Start again.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, so some of this information I know is going to be available on pads. So
Hard to hear you, Michael. I guess you're driving. Is that right? Probably
I
no way.
think he dropped off.
Oh, he dropped off. Gonna say, can you type it in the chat? But he's driving, so that's not gonna work.
Yeah.
It sounded like he was asking about some of this information may be reported in CalPads, and maybe he was wondering, can you all grab that, or are we grabbing it? Anyway, I have a different question.
Could I answer that though?
Yeah.
We were asking you to grab that out of CalPads.
Okay.
Put it into your
Okay.
survey. Yeah.
Okay. A question I had was, I loved seeing that, the section where we get to free draft our accomplishments and challenges we face, wondering if it's possible to add a place for us to talk about opportunities we might see, and maybe just a place for reflection on our own data. Like when we go through the process sometimes of gathering our own data and looking at it, we have our own wonderings, and it may just be great while we're in that mindset to capture it there for cross-district and K-16 learning, and to inform a future survey.
John, go ahead, Priscilla.
Yeah, that's a wonderful suggestion. And actually, after you do that, there will be one last question where you will have the opportunity to share anything that you want to share with the collaborative. So I think this would be a really great place for you to share those insights. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Priscilla. Yeah, Andrea, so we're going to leave at both of those things, the opportunities and reflecting on your data could all be kind of put into that last open-ended text box that ends the survey, and feel free to write as much as you want about any of those things. Okay. Michael did text or put it in the chat, apologies, till end of January. Slow schools are out till end of January, so deadline concerns. John, I'll let you take that one.
Well, we will work with Michael to figure out how we can best get that information. I wasn't aware that the slow schools were out, and this deadline has been in the contract since June, but we'll find a way to work that out.
Right, I'll put that in the chat. Thanks, John. Any other questions that come up as you see this data survey form for the first time? Did it look pretty clear? Any comments about it? Any thoughts about it? Reactions to it? Looks doable. Okay. Let's see. Okay, and Michael puts in the chat, Andrea and Julie, please confirm CalPAD's data alignment. Okay, Andrea, are you on the call?
Yeah, I think maybe it's just that question. If you want to clarify exactly, that it is we're pulling from CalPADs and putting in. I guess that's what he's asking us. Julie, do you have other thoughts? She's still on the call.
No, I agree. I think that Michael wanted to know where the CalPADS data was coming from, whether it was going to be generated because, or whether we need to go after it. So John, is that the only way to get that CalPADS data? Are you not able to pull it out of curiosity?
I think she's talking to Carizi, not Leland.
Yeah. Well, I think the issue really is bandwidth because we're asking you to get the data from either CalPADS or the local source. At this point, we don't have the bandwidth. We might in the future on this timeline to kind of pull it for everybody. And we also, it really relates to you knowing your programs, your courses that you're looking for, et cetera, to kind of make sure it's really done right. I don't know if that's what the answer was you were looking for, but anyone else want to comment on that?
Well,
we might be able to look at that.
this
Go ahead, John.
this is a smaller group than we will have in our next round. But when it gets to 40 different institutions, it's going to be difficult to do that for every institution. And if we do it for the K12 and the post-secondaries, though this is just a responsibility of the of each grantee and the program. And you'd probably want this information for your program, and you'd probably have to check it if John pulled it anyway.
Right.
So it's probably wiser for the schools to collect the data to make sure it's accurate.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
really, go ahead.
yeah, the nature of my question was I wanted to confirm that based on what I heard, it does look like a lot of the data that's in everyone's student information system that feeds into the reported CalPAD structure. And I think that's an important thing to remind the LEAs that you should have this information. We just need you to pull it and aggregate it and put it into this form. That's why I wanted Julie and Andrea to confirm was there's CalPADS alignment and it shouldn't be that hard to find and get this information. So Julie and Andrea, that's what I was referring to.
You got two thumbs up, Michael. That's really what we were
Good.
kind of saying. You may have this, it may be easier for you to access it locally because you've already reported it to CalPAD. So just use the data that you've got most readily available to you. It's going to be the same data, but if it's easier for you to source it from your local data system at your district or Office of Education, do that. But either source should give you the same data. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that, Michael. Any other questions at this point from anyone or any other comments? Yeah, go ahead, Gerardo.
Once we submit and we do find that there's an error, would we be able to then go back and make some changes, or is it once we submit, it's too late?
Once you submit, it does capture your data, but our contact information is there and you'll have it because we'll send you the survey. So you can always reach out and let us know if there was any mistake and we can fix it. Not a problem.
We can fix it on our end. Yeah.
Thank you.
At that point, after the submit, after you hit submit button. Okay. All right. If you have more questions, put them in the chat, or we'll have a little bit of time during the wrap up for any final questions. But why don't we thank you, Priscilla, for running through the survey. I really want to thank Priscilla for all the hard work she's put into creating this. If you answer K12 on that first screen, you're just going to branch off into the K12 questions. So we're doing trainings for the post-secondary institutions on January 17th, and they're going to, when they fill out that they're a community college or a four-year, they'll branch to different questions. And so just setting up all of that and making it as hopefully as seamless as possible for all of you. I really want to thank Priscilla again for her hard work in doing that. Not easy. And she created the sections. You can go in and grab and go to any section you want in that upper left-hand corner, kind of hamburger with the 3 lines. It gives you a chance to navigate more easily through the survey. So thank you. Yeah, so let's do wrap up and next steps. So I think Priscilla said this, I'll kind of echo it and really encourage you to do this, to set aside some time on your schedule, block out some time to get the data needed, the PDF that Priscilla created, and it's in this slide deck. And that's another thing, John, we'll want to send this slide deck out, I think, right after the meeting, along with the link to the survey, so that people have the information in the slide deck that they might want to refer to. But
Sure.
set aside some time to gather all your data that you're going to need to complete in the data reporting form in Qualtrics. And so you have your PDF document to allow you to kind of see what you need to collect and kind of get ready. And you may need folks on your team to help you. You may want to do it as a joint effort. You might want to pull in your whoever the student data lead is at your institution to ask them to help you or to be on standby for technical assistance and support. So those are the things that we would encourage you to do now or early next week, and not now in the Friday afternoon, but early next week to kind of get yourself prepared to be able to complete this data reporting survey by January 23rd. You can contact us. You'll have this slide deck, and so Priscilla and Layla and myself are available as your Cabrillo data team to answer any questions you have. Just email us. You have our emails in this slide deck now. And then also in combination with that, you can come to the office hours that were on the 3 dates that I put on the slide that will allow you to kind of get assistance on those specific days. You come to any part of it or all of it. And you can come to multiple office hours. So you've got really 3 additional hours of support time available to you, in addition to any emails you want to send us. So we're really trying to make sure that you have the ability to reach us and to get the support you need between now and January 23rd. So with that, any questions about anything I just mentioned on that slide?
John, I just wanted to add that a lot of these data elements that we are requesting were requested as part of the cycle 2 process. The demographic data it wasn't asked for, but a lot of the bigger questions about were part of that process. So hopefully there's some experience in looking for some of this data, and we didn't do that as part of the process in the first round, but we did that once we had a better sense of everything for the second round. So hopefully this isn't all new to you, and we're trying to figure out the best way to support you and your school district in answering these questions. That's what we want to do. That's what John, Layla, Priscilla, Ashley, Isaac, and myself are here to do, is to support you and with this information.
Great. Thanks, John. If you look in the chat and scroll up to 228 in your chat, the 3 office hour dates are there in the chat. You can grab them out of the chat as well as this PowerPoint. And at 2:30 in your chat is the link to the office hours. It's the same link for all 3. And you can grab that now too if you want, just to have it. But we'll also be sending it to you in a separate email. Okay, next slide, Priscilla. So I think that's it. Again, you have our contact information here, our emails information here for our data team. You have the office hours information. You've got, we'll be sending out a link to the survey to you after today, a link to the slides, or yeah, these are Google Slides. You get the slides.